let me tell you something. I will never quit. I will never stop until we keep a con man from taking over the party of Reagan and the conservative movement. He's a con man. He's a con man. He's a con man. I'll tell you why. Number one, look, people are angry and frustrated and scared about the future. Okay? People are working harder than they've ever worked in their lives, and they're running in place. And he swoops in and is taking advantage of that. He's taking advantage of that. He's telling people, I'm going to fight for the little guy. I'm fighting for the working class. Here's what he doesn't tell them. He has spent a career in business, 50 years, sticking it to the little guy. Sticking it to the little guy. When his companies went bankrupt, the first people that didn't get paid were the subcontractors. The plumbers and the pipe fitters and the people that laid bricks and all of those people that worked for a living. They didn't get paid. He got his money. They didn't get theirs. He's going around telling people, oh, I'm fighting to keep other countries from taking our jobs. What is he talking about? You ever bought a Trump tie? If you buy a Trump tie, you're not just getting a tacky tie. You're buying a tie.
All right, that's Marco Rubio speaking to Oklahoma City. Wolf, back to you. You were just saying the moment that stood out the most last night.
Well, when Rubio really came out right at the top and he started swinging, I thought it was going to get intense. I didn't think it was going to get that intense, and I was pretty surprised at how quickly the conversation got to that level of back and forth. The rules of a debate like this are if a candidate is criticized or attacked by someone else, that candidate has a chance to respond. And, of course, they were going back and forth. You have to give the other candidate a chance to respond. And then they started talking over each other. There's a delicate balance. It's a debate, so you want to see them debate. You want the voters out there to get a better appreciation of where these candidates stand on critically important issues. So you want to see them have these kinds of exchanges. The important thing is to have an opportunity to keep it going and keep the important subjects there and try to give everybody a chance to respond. So it's not an easy challenge for a moderator, I can tell you that.
It's not an easy dance at all, and you danced it extremely well, my friend. Where do you think, Wolf, this Marco Rubio has been?
The one we're seeing now?
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know, his strategist probably thought earlier on the way to go was to avoid a direct attack on Donald Trump, because, Donald Trump makes it clear you attack him, he's going to come right back. And as we see today, he's really going after Marco Rubio in ways that, making fun of him with the drinking the water and all that kind of stuff. And Rubio's not stepping back. I think Rubio has been told by major figures in the Republican Party, the Republican establishment, it's do or die right now. If you're going to bring down Trump and prevent him from getting the Republican nomination, you got to do it in the coming days. There's Super Tuesday coming up, then the Florida primary in mid-March is coming up. That's his home state. If Rubio doesn't win Florida, if Cruz doesn't win Texas, they're both in big trouble right now, and Trump moves on. So it's a critical period. It's going to be lively.
No question. It will be lively. Wolf Blitzer, congrats on last night. More than 14 million people we just found out were watching. So thank you so much, Wolf. We'll tune in Situation Room in just about an hour and a half from now. Wolf, thanks. Let's listen in to Marco Rubio speaking live in Oklahoma City, I believe, about Donald Trump's tweets.
Lightweight Marco Rubio was working hard last night. The working hard part is true. The problem is he's a choker, and once a choker, always a chocker. He misspelled it. Mr. Meltdown. Let me tell you about Mr. Meltdown. You want some behind-the-scenes stuff? We had 2 commercial breaks in the middle of all this combat, on the stage. He looked like he was in panic mode in the back. First, he took out like this little makeup compact. I caught him. He's like, right here. Because he had like a sweat mustache. And then he asked for a full-length mirror. Why do you need a full-length mirror? The podium goes up to here. So I said earlier, well, maybe he was worried that his pants were wet or something. I don't know. So he wanted to see. Then I saw him in the corner huddled with somebody, and his arms were going up and down, and someone was like, calm down, calm down. I said, all right, not a good night. Not a good night for Donald Trump. He was melting down, all right? Then, all right, at 7:48 a.m., so I guess he took a shower, whatever he did, and then he went over, he said, wow, every poll said that I won the debate last night. Great honer. I think he meant honor, but he spelled it honer, H-O-N-E-R. All right. Then at 8:56 a.m., leet weight chalker. I think he meant to spell lightweight, but it says leet weight chalker. Marco Rubio looks like a little boy on stage. not presidential material. It's not that I'm a little boy, because I wouldn't even be the youngest person ever president. He would be the oldest person ever president, which is a problem because you could serve like 8 years. You know, so it gets, you know, you start to worry a little bit, all right? So I looked at these tweets. How can this guy get this so wrong? These misspells. I mean, either, you know, because some of these letters aren't even next to each other on the keyboard on your phone. And I concluded one of two things. Either that's how they spelled choker at the Wharton School of Business, or he must have hired foreign workers to hire his Twitter handle. So we are not going to lose. We are not going to lose the party of Reagan, and we are not going to lose the conservative movement to a con man. We are not going to let that happen. And the reason why is because this election is too important. In this election is a referendum, and you have to decide what kind of country will America be in the 21st century. Now, we know what kind of country it's been up to now. It's been special, unique in all the world. Okay? In most countries in the world, you can only be what your parents were before you. That's the only thing you're allowed to be, not in America. Here we believe everyone has the right to go as far as their talent and their work will take them. But that was not an accident. You know why that happened? Because the people who came before us did what needed to be done. They embraced the principles that made America special. They embraced limited government. They embraced and followed the Constitution. They embraced free enterprise. They embraced a strong national defense. And so for over 200 years, each generation has left the next better off. Now the time has come for us to do that. Now that's not what's going to happen if Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders wins this election. So we can't lose this election. We will lose this election if Donald Trump is the nominee. Now watch what the press is doing. The press is treating him with kid gloves. You saw some of these press reports in the morning. It's like, oh, whoa, this Donald Trump, man, what's he going to do to Marco Rubio today? He's so unstoppable. They don't touch any of the stuff he's about. On the other hand, they have written articles about how when I was 18 years old, okay, I got a citation from the cops for drinking beer in a park after hours. You can't be president if you haven't drank beer in the park after hours, okay? At least not in some states in the country, anyway. But the point is that this is the level of investigation. They haven't even touched him. You know why? Because they can't wait. They're waiting for him to be the nominee. Then they'll tear him apart. Then they'll tear him apart and they'll coronate Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or whoever it is that wins their nomination. And that would be a disaster. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. By the way, in most politics, when you call somebody a socialist, they deny it. He says it in his commercials. So I'm not saying anything he wouldn't say. He's a nice guy, but he's a socialist. Hillary Clinton is under FBI investigation. That usually means you don't get to run for president, but if you're a Democrat, I guess that's okay. But this is more serious. She's disqualified from being commander-in-chief. Because Hillary Clinton, on September 11th of 2012, 4 Americans died in Benghazi as a result of a terrorist attack, and she knew that. She knew that. But she told their families that it was because of a movie. She lied to them. Anyone who lies to the families of those who have lost their lives in the service of our country can never be the commander-in-chief of the United States. Disqualified. So we cannot lose this election. And if you give me your vote and you nominate me, we will not lose this election. We won't lose it because, number one, we'll unify this party. We'll bring it together. We don't have to agree on everything. We can have differences on some issues, but we are going to unify this party. We cannot win if we're fighting against each other. I am the only one left in this race that can bring us together as a party. But we can't just unify. We also have to grow, which means we have to take our message of conservatism to people that don't vote for us now. And I can and I will. I'll take our message to people that live today the way I grew up. I grew up paycheck to paycheck. I've lived paycheck to paycheck. People asked me recently, how do you define paycheck to paycheck? I said, paycheck to paycheck is when you write a check on Wednesday, but you know the money doesn't get there till Friday, so you date it Saturday. I'm not saying I ever did that. I'm just saying I know what it is. We're going to take our message to people that are living paycheck to paycheck. the way you live now. I grew up and faced the things you're facing now. And I'm a conservative, and you should be too, because that's the right way forward for me, for you, and for the United States of America. We are going to take our message to young Americans, some of whom are living with student loan debt. By the way, if you took out a student loan to go to Trump University, the only thing you got was a piece of paper and a picture with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. So my apologies if you went to that university. And their football team is no good either. And so there are millions of Americans today. We had a 500% increase in student loan debt in this country. I'm the only Republican that talks about it all the time because for me it's personal, because I had to face it. And I have a plan to deal with this issue. We're going to take our message to families raising their children the way Jeanette and I are raising ours now, because it's become harder than ever to raise your kids with the values they teach in our church instead of the values that they try to ram down our throat in popular culture. We are going to... We will unite this party, and we will grow it, and if we do that, we will win. And that's why the Democrats don't want to run against me. Jim is right. In poll after poll, I beat Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats know that. They attack me more than any other Republican in this race because they don't want to run against me. Hillary Clinton does not want to run against me, but I cannot wait to run against Hillary Clinton. We'll win. We'll win this election, and then we'll get to work. Now, what kind of president will you have? When I am president of the United States, number one, you're going to have a president for the first time in 8 years that, follows the Constitution of the United States of America. That means a Constitution that says you have a First Amendment right to live out the teachings of your faith in every aspect of your life. A Constitution that says you have a Second Amendment right to protect yourself and your family. A 10th Amendment that says that the power of government should largely reside in the states and in the local communities. If it's unconstitutional, I will be against it. And that's why when I become president of the United States, on my first day in office, I will repeal every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders. By the way, there's an opening in the Supreme Court now. And we shouldn't do anything on that opening until after this election. You have a right to weigh in on it. But you know what kind of justices we're going to appoint? People like Antonin Scalia, God rest his soul, that understand that the Constitution is supposed to be applied according to its original meaning. It is not a living and breathing document that means whatever you want it to mean. Because if it means whatever you want it to mean, it means nothing at all. We are going to have judges that apply the Constitution according to its original meaning. By the way, if you want to change the Constitution, there's a process for that. It's called Article 5. It says that you, the citizens, can call a convention of states. In fact, your former Senator Tom Coburn is leading that effort. And it's not an effort that it won't do anything with the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. All those things stay in place. The only thing he's seeking, and I support, is term limits on Congress, term limits on judges, and a balanced budget amendment for America. Now, number two, when I'm president of the United States, you're going to have a president that believes in free enterprise. I always laugh when I hear political figures say, oh, when I was mayor, we created 100,000 jobs. And I say, really, you hired 100,000 government workers? Because unless you hired 100,000 government workers, you didn't create 100,000 jobs. The private sector did. And I can say that to you because my parents had a job as a bartender and a maid because the private sector created their jobs. Someone who had access to money risked that money to open up a hotel and hired them. That's how they were able to buy a home and raise a family and retire with dignity and give us a better life. We are going to make America the best place in the world to start a business or expand an existing business when I'm President of the United States. We don't have time here today to go through all the details, but go on my website. You will see that I have the best plan out there to bring our tax code into a globally competitive one. We have the best plan out there to roll back all of these crazy regulations that Jim Inhofe fights against all the time. We're getting rid of all these crazy regulations. We have the best plan out there to save Social Security and Medicare. My mom is on Social Security and Medicare, but also bring our debt under control. We have the best plan out there to allow us to fully utilize our energy resources. God has blessed America with oil and natural gas. When I'm president, we are going to use it. And I'm the only one running for president that's ever done anything against Obamacare. And that wasn't a long speech. It was actually something we did. And here's what we did. They created a bailout fund. When Obamacare passed, the insurance companies got them to create a bailout fund. They were going to bail out insurance companies that lost money with your taxpayer money. I led the effort, and we got rid of the bailout fund. And when I'm president, we will get rid of the rest of Obamacare and put you back in charge. The federal government is involved in all kinds of things it's not supposed to be involved in. Here's the one thing it does have to be involved in: national security. Okay? And it's not doing a good job right now because we have a very weak commander-in-chief. Okay? And so, and let's look at the world today, by the way. 8 years of Barack Obama, the world has gone more dangerous. There is a lunatic in North Korea with nuclear weapons. The Chinese are taking over the South China Sea. Vladimir Putin is sowing instability in Europe and in the Middle East. Iran is going to get $100 billion of sanctions relief. And radical Islamic jihadists are spreading all over the world, especially ISIS. In the face of all these growing threats, we're gutting our military. We are gutting our military. Okay? Our Army will soon be the smallest it has been since the end of World War II. The Navy will soon be at its smallest size in 100 years. And the Air Force will soon be smaller than it has ever been. So the world is getting more dangerous, and we're gutting our military. And by the way, how unfair is that to our men and women in uniform? Because we're still putting them in harm's way, but now we're putting them in harm's way with older weapons and less people alongside them. And by the way, with rules of engagement that don't even allow them to win. That's going to change. When I'm president of the United States, we are going to undertake a Reagan-style rebuilding of the military. When I'm president of the United States, we're going to have a real war on terror. Not a fake one like the one we have now, a real one. The best intelligence agencies in the world are going to find the terrorists. The best military in the world is going to destroy them. And if we capture any of these terrorists alive, they're not going to have the right to remain silent. They're not going to get a court hearing in Manhattan. They're not coming somewhere in Oklahoma. They are going to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. When I'm president of the United States, we're going to have a foreign policy of moral clarity, which means our allies will know they can count on us. For example, in all of the Middle East, there is only one nation that is pro-American, a free enterprise economy, and a democracy. Israel. That's right. Maybe Donald Trump is confused and he wants to be impartial, but I am not. If push comes to shove, I know whose side I'm going to be on. I am going to be on Israel's side every single time. Every single time. And that is going to begin on my first day in office. Because as soon as I walk into the Oval Office, I will cancel Barack Obama's deal with the Ayatollah of Iran. When I'm president, we are going to take care of our veterans again. If you are a veteran, would you lift your hand so we can thank you for your service to our country? God bless you. God bless you. When I'm president, we are going to take care of our veterans again. If you are a veteran, would you lift your hand so we can thank you for your service to our country? God bless you. God bless you. Well, my brother's a veteran. I have a brother that's 21 years older than I am. My parents had him in their, I guess, late teens, early 20s. People got married very young back then. And I was born 21 years later, which means my parents were incredibly optimistic people. In 1968, my brother joined the Army. He became a Green Beret in the 7th Special Forces. He served from 68 to 71. When he was in the Army as a Green Beret, one day in a training mission, he jumped out of an airplane. He landed wrong, knocked out his teeth. And so every 5 to 10 years, he has to go fill a dental claim at the VA. And it's always a hassle. It's always the same thing. Oh, how do we know this happened in the military? He says, well, it's the only time I jumped out of a plane. And a quarter of the calls to my office, I bet you Jim would say the same. A significant number of the calls that we get in our Senate offices are a veteran having to fight with a VA. We act like we're doing them a favor. They did us the favor. They took care of us. We now have to take care of